All right, welcome back, guys. Uh, to start things off, at the time of recording this, it's October 31st. Uh, I'll probably be uploading it a day later, but today it is officially Doomsday, celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the passing of MF Doom. So I hope everybody out there took the time to listen to some Doom material. Personally, I've been going through Vaudeville Villain. I've been revisiting that one a lot. Anyways, picking up where we left off last time, we went through Wu Affiliates, we did Killer Army, we did the Boot Camp Clique after that. We left off with Sean Price, so we will be starting with Songs in the Key of Price. And this is the original album cover, which pays homage to Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life. I think they ran into some legal trouble with this because it was re-released with a different album cover. This is essentially a street mixtape, though. Sean put a lot of those out in between his full LPs. So his street mixtapes are dope. It's just him basically just rapping to rap. I always really enjoyed him. This one is Sean Price and Small Professor. I really enjoy this because it's a nice, brisk, short 10-track album. Even with the bonus tracks, it only comes up to 15. It's over before you even know what happened, and I enjoy shorter LPs and EPs. This is a really good one to just throw on if you got some time to kill. Sean Price and Lil Fame of MOP. A lot of people don't realize that Fame is actually a fairly dope producer. I think they sleep on that fact. This was a solid album. I think Sean's vocals were starting to get a little muddier near the end of his life, and you can kind of hear that in the recording. The sound quality, the way his voice sounds, but I still think this is a solid one. My favorite Sean Price project, though, is Random Acts, which is Sean Price, Guilty Simpson, and Black Milk. Black Milk fully produces this, and I think this is one of the unheralded classics within modern hip-hop. The story behind this album is that they had finished it, they had given it to Black Milk, and the hard drive or wherever it was he was keeping it had crashed, and they had to re-record everything. And they found out that Sean actually wrote all of his rhymes on his cell phone, and he had gotten rid of that phone. So essentially, all the rhymes that he wrote for that album were gone. So he had to go back and just write some new shit, which I'm assuming was a pain in the ass. But listening to this album, you would never know it. I think everything about this works. Sean's chemistry with Guilty is incredible. The production is incredible. A lot of people really slept on this one. I would very highly recommend it to anybody out there that likes Sean Price. Rusty Jux, which was Sean P's right-hand man. This is an okay album. I think Jux falls into the same pitfalls that a lot of rappers do with their debuts. Like he's got a weed song, he's got a girl song, he's got just a gangster rap song. It comes across very formulaic, and his later albums are much better, but it's still a solid release. The Beat Miners, the producers behind the Black Moon projects, obviously. This was released on Ruckus. It finds them linking up with Royce da 5'9's on here. Let me see, Razkaz is on here, Freddie Fox. I think Talib Kweli's on here, if I'm not mistaken, Pete Rock. This is dope. The Beat Miners solo material, solo in the sense that they're a group but away from Black Moon, is not as good as the Black Moon stuff, obviously, but I think they're very underappreciated as producers, definitely. Marco Polo and Torae. This was the first time I had ever heard of Torae. I picked this album up because I enjoyed Marco Polo's work, and this is really good. This is an incredibly solid album. Torae is a great rapper. He's in the same vein as guys like Sky Zoo. Really solid, front to back. Everything about it works. Marco Polo gets better as a producer as his career goes on. This was somewhat earlier in his career. So his beats are good here. His later beats are better. But this whole album is really quality hip-hop. Babu, Duck Season Volume 1. I believe there's 3 volumes in the Duck Season series. I've only got the first one. I really need to pick up the other ones. But just looking at this, you can see he's got Big Daddy Kane. That alone, he's got Big Daddy Kane on there. Souls of Mischief. Let me see, who else he got on here? Feel the Agony. Pete Rock's on there featuring the UN. That's a great album. All three of them were really, really dope. I need to get the other ones. Kids in the Hall, which is a Chicago-based group. I originally checked this out because it was released on Ruckus Records way after Ruckus was out of their heyday. This was the later 2000s, and I was interested in what a later Ruckus Records release sounded like, and I instantly became a fan of these guys. Knowledge, the rapper, Double O, the producer, they're really, really dope. They're really based in traditionalist hip-hop, and this is by far, in my opinion at least, I think this is their best album. It's kind of a pain in the ass to listen to. I don't think it's on any streaming services, but if you run across this one, I would definitely check it out. They followed it up with the In Crowd, which is more polished, a little more refined, a little cleaner. I actually saw them perform when they released this album. They were traveling with, I think they were with Merce at the time. I think they were on tour with him. They performed a lot of cuts off this album. It knocks. It's got some tracks on here that really hit. That's a great one too. This one was the last one I checked by them, and I think they might have one or two more albums after this. Land of Make Believe just really didn't connect with me. They experimented with their sound a little bit more. It's more different than what they had released before, and it just didn't connect. It just didn't connect with me personally. I haven't listened to it in a long time, so there's always that possibility that maybe it's grown. But yeah, that one, I would definitely check out their first two before you go into that. Alright, so we are getting into psychological Uncle Howie. We're getting into non-fiction and Necro. There's some really dope releases in here if you're open-minded enough to listen to them. This one I think can be appreciated by just about anybody. Non-fiction is Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, and Sabak. They are borderline horrorcore, borderline political rap, borderline gangster rap, borderline backpack. They really have a little bit of everything for everybody. This album was mostly produced by Necro. I think they have, I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure they have a Pete Rock beat on here. I think they got a DJ Premier beat. Don't quote me on that, but I know the production on this album is immaculate. They got guest features by Doom, MF Doom's on there. And this is just a classic album. This is the re-release. 2-disc version, comes with the instrumentals. I cannot recommend that album enough if you were a fan of East Coast hip-hop. I would definitely, you don't even have to be a fan of, you don't have to be an Ill Bill fan, you don't have to be a Necro fan. Non-fiction stands as its own thing, and that's definitely a classic. They never released a follow-up, but they did release the Green CD, which is essentially a compilation that pulls together freestyles and rarities, and there's a bonus DVD with it. This is cool. I would have preferred a follow-up album, but I think it's dope that we got more non-fiction, at least. This was Bill's solo release. Ill Bill is, in my opinion, and probably in a lot of people's opinions, far and away the best rapper of the group. Lyrically, he just does some really incredible things. This is fully produced by his brother, Necro. And he's got a song on here, The Anatomy of a School Shooting. I feel that that ranks amongst the best songs ever recorded. That being said, this album is solid. I felt like it could have been better. In my mind, when I had built it up so much. I love Necro's production so much. I love Bill so much. I feel like this is just a really solid album instead of being a mind-blowing, incredible one. But it's still a solid starting point for Bill. That's the instrumentals. You'll see that Necro has a tendency to release the instrumentals to all the projects that he produces. This is one of Bill's street albums, Black Metal, which is really solid. I actually copped this and the next one right here at a show. He was touring with, it was Tech Nine, Ill Bill, and Paul Wall. It was a very eclectic show, but it was incredible all the same. This might actually be my favorite Bill project just because of the variety of songs on it. He's got a lot of really dope songs on this one that I think a lot of people probably slept on, just based off the fact that this is a street album. But if you run across Ill Bill is the Future, Volume 2, I would definitely recommend checking that out. As far as official studio albums, I think this one is probably his best. I don't think that can really be argued. The Hour of Reprisal is just everything I expected the first album to be. Great concepts, great production, great rapping. Features from Tech 9, Necro's on there, obviously. Everlast is on there. Immortal Technique. This is probably... It's not probably. This is Bill's best album, in my opinion. And I think it would definitely be a great starting point if you're looking to get into him. This was the album he did with DJ Muggs. When Muggs was doing his Versus series, he had done Jizza, he did Sick Jackin', then he did Bill. This was originally a disappointment for me just because expectations were just like... I was expecting like an Illmatic, honestly. Like, I thought this was just going to be the greatest thing ever. I thought that duo was just unbelievable, and when I got the album, it was just really, really good instead of being like an instant classic. Now, I think as time has gone on and I go back and listen to it, it really is an incredible project. There's no weak tracks, there's no filler, just dark, dirty, atmospheric beats, fantastic rhyming. Really not a lot you could complain about. I just think I had my expectations too high, but I would definitely recommend that to fans of Bill or Muggs, honestly. La Coca Nostra, which is essentially House of Pain with Slain and Ill Bill. You can see on the cover there, Everlast, Ill Bill, Slain, Danny Boy, DJ Lethal. A lot of people kind of overlook this one. They got a track on here, Choose Your Side with Bun B, that has an incredible Bun B verse, one of my favorite verses from him. I would definitely check this one out. I think the stigma, the hardcore white rapper stigma, I think kind of hurt this project. But this is legitimately a very good hardcore hip-hop album. Gore-Tex, which is maybe the most visual of the non-Phixion members, with his rhyming and his imagery that he evokes with what he's saying. I think this is probably the best of all three of the solo debut albums. Again, this is fully produced by Necro. Gore-Tex is a great rapper. I really don't have anything to complain about. He disappeared for a very long time, but he just recently has started to make a comeback working with Bill. He's released a few solo projects again. He was featured heavily on the Heavy Metal Kings 2 album with Bill and Vinny Paz. Sabak was like the political rapper of the group. He didn't really do hardcore. He didn't really do horrorcore. He was more political. He was a more Chuck D and Immortal Technique. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I've already got my political rappers, so Sabak was just kind of unnecessary for me. But he is a solid rapper, and this album is fully produced by Necro. And I really don't have anything to complain about. Same could be said for his follow-up, actually. Solid album, solid rapper, solid production. I'm just not a huge Sabak fan. But if you're looking for some solid political rap, you can't go wrong with Sabak. Necro is definitely one of the most divisive, controversial rappers in the underground. You either really love him or really hate him. I think a lot of people, it's universally accepted that his production is incredible. The real divide comes from him as a rapper. He is very much rooted in horrorcore. Just the most horrific, violent, pornographic imagery you could ever conjure up. I Need Drugs was famous because not only is that his Uncle Howie, which is who the label was named after, he has the song I Need Drugs, which flips LL Cool J's I Need Love and turns it into a drug ballad. I like Necro. I really like him. He comes from the school of Cool G rap. And you can hear a lot of the Cool G rap influence on the way that he rhymes and the way that he puts things together. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy his whole shtick. If you're looking to get into a Necro song, he's got a song called Underground. I think that's a great starting point as far as a song to dip your toes. This was the project that I first heard about Necro on. He has a song here called Dead Body Disposal. Back in the day on the internet, it was like E-Bombs World or one of those fucking weird sites. They had a music video, like an animated music video for it. And I watched it and it just fucking blew my mind. I was like, this is the most wild shit I've ever seen. I just recently went back to this album and it actually holds up really well. I think that's a solid starting point. It's got some of his most classic tracks on there. And then we have Instrumentals Volume 1. Like I said, Necro likes to release all of his instrumentals too, which I'm not complaining. He is a fantastic producer. This is almost a showcase for the label, Necro, Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, Mr. Hyde. It's just a hodgepodge of all of them, solo tracks, collaborations. This is a really solid one, especially if you're looking to get into that whole roster. This will give you a little bit of everybody. And that is the instrumentals to accompany it. This was probably his most well-known album. Like, I actually copped this at Best Buy back in the day, believe it or not. Like, not only did Best Buy sell CDs, they sold underground CDs, and that's where I used to go to get most of my underground CDs. So this was something I actually bought at Best Buy. It's definitely his most iconic album cover, I think. Most people, when you think of Necro, this is probably the album you're thinking of. Very solid album. All of his albums are solid if you're a fan. If you're not a fan, you're not going to like it. But this is another really good one. And, of course, the instrumentals to accompany. I will say this. As much as I enjoy Necro, I don't enjoy his sex music. I don't enjoy sex music in general in hip-hop. Necro's is like cranked up to 11. It's just the most vulgar, disgusting, pornographic. And, that's his shtick. That's his style. It just doesn't do anything for me. And The Sexorcist is literally an album built around just that. So, like, everything on his album is just the most deprived, fucking weird, wild, sexual, pornographic rhyming you've ever heard. So I'm not a big fan of that one. But if you're into that sort of thing, there's definitely an album there for you. I would consider this to be Necro's underrated masterpiece. I think when it's all said and done and we start to look back on his career, I think a lot of people are going to discover this album as his crown jewel. This was him taking metal and rock influences and really combining them with hip-hop. So the whole theme behind this one is just a lot of really dark metal riffs he's rapping over. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people don't like metal and hip-hop mixed together. I think he did it perfectly on this. I think it's very short, it's very punchy, it's very to the point, and it's very easy with air quotes to listen to if you're into this sort of thing. That one you need an open mind to listen to, but I think if you do go in with an open mind, you're going to find a really enjoyable album there. Die was a solid record. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't as good as some of his other releases, I didn't feel. He does have a song on here that's like, conceptually, he's like telling the story of Rambo from the Rambo movies, which was dope. That's an okay record. This one I just recently copped and added to the collection. It's a double EP. He's got a feature from Cool G Rap on here, who he had a rap group with, the Godfathers. They have a whole album together. But he's got a feature from G Rap on this one that's incredible. This is really solid. I really enjoyed that one. And when I picked that up, I also picked up his last LP, which was the Notorious Glorious. And this is probably, if you're looking for modern Necro music, I think this is definitely the best starting point. Because I think this is all of his sounds, the metal, the hardcore hip-hop, the horrorcore, the sex stuff. This has a little bit of everything, and it's all executed perfectly. So I think if you really want to check out Necro, you go to this album, and you can just get a taste for all of it. This also includes the instrumentals, double disc album. A lot of people would consider this an underground horrorcore classic. Circle of Tyrants is Necro, Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, and Mr. Hyde. The production on this album might be the best beats Necro has ever turned in. His beats are it's not as horrorcore themed as you would think from somebody that makes such violent rap music, but they're very beautiful. Very atmospheric, very cinematic. He has some incredible beats, and this album really is his crown jewel as far as his production goes. Conceptually, violent rap, just them fucking wilding out, saying crazy shit. But the production really, really carries this album. The same could almost be said of this. Mr. Hyde is almost like Necro's hype man, his right-hand man. Hyde is a lesser version as far as rapping goes of Necro. He does pretty much the same thing Necro does, just not as good. But Necro gave him easily the best beats of that debut album era. So like out of Bill, Gore-Tex, Sabak, Hyde, for whatever reason, got the absolute best beats. He's definitely an acquired taste. Hyde is a little bit harder to listen to than Necro, but the production on this one really does carry that project. And there's the instrumentals right there, which I would still recommend if you want to hear the beats. It's still worth listening to Hyde rapping over them, because it does add something to the music. And that was the follow-up. I can't remember if this one is fully produced by Necro or not. I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than I anticipated. I think that one's a solid album, probably better. The rapping is better than his debut, though I still think the production on the debut is far and away better than what's found on this one. Q Unique from the Arsonist. I just recently went back and listened to this one. This is a really solid album still. Executive producer Ill Bill. You see he's got features from Ill Bill, Necro, Gore-Tex. This was released on Uncle Howie Records. This is a really solid debut album from him. It didn't blow me away, but it gave me everything I wanted from a Q solo album. So I really can't complain. And I actually got that in a bundle with a bunch of mixtapes, and it also came with, I believe that was his follow-up album. I think that's his second album, and then that's the instrumentals for it. And if you're a fan of that first one, you're gonna like the second one. But yeah, guys, that wraps up all of my Necro, all the psychological. Next time, it looks like we're gonna be going into, here, it's pan over. Next time we're going into Jedi Mind Tricks, it looks like, and Army of the Pharaohs. There's a lot of really dope albums, some real gems tucked away in there. I'm really excited to talk about. But I appreciate it, guys. And again, I hope everybody out there listen to at least one MF Doom song for Doomsday. Rest in peace, and have a good day.